Streaming bandwidth provided by worship channels, live streaming made simple. Visit them online at worshipchannels.com. On today's Technobabble, camera tips for directors.
This is Tech No Babble, your weekly source for church video and graphics news, perspectives, tips, and tricks. And now here's your host, Paul Clifford.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Technobabble. I, of course, am your host, Paul Allen Clifford, and I just want to invite you to join the conversation. If you go to churchtechcast.com Thursdays at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, you can join the chat and take advantage of interacting just like Chris is doing right now. We've already said hi to each other, so I'll go on with that. Something that you can also do is you can also drop me a line, paul@trinitydigitalmedia.com, or leave me a voicemail message, 1-877-763-3246. That's 1-877-POD-ECHO. By the way, as just a personal favor to me, if you were to head over to iTunes and look up Technobabble, that's T-E-C-H, N-O-B-A-B-E-L, then just give us a review. Reviews are always helpful to podcasters, so if you could do that, that would be helpful. That'll help us get found more easily. Also, another thing you could do is head over to bit.ly, bit.ly/survey CTC to complete the audience survey. That'll help with advertisers and all that fun jazz. Well, before we get started, I've got a little update of some things that are going on in my life. About a week ago, I went out for a run. You might know that I like to jog, and halfway through my run, about as far away as you can get, it started raining, and my iPhone, I couldn't hear anything anymore. I thought, oh, this is bad. Well, it was bad. When I got home, my phone wouldn't charge anymore. So right now, I have this, and you're thinking, well, that looks like an iPhone. Yes, it does look like an iPhone, except there's the motherboard, there's the screen, and here's the case. So I've got it in three places. If you have similar problems, this isn't a sponsor thing. This is just one of the places I go when I have issues. iFixit.com is where I got instructions on how to do this. I already had all the tools from replacing my sister's iPhone 3G screen a couple of years ago. So I have removed the battery, and I've got a new one of those coming. But I only did that because while it's open, might as well replace the battery. And I'm going to replace as soon as it gets here, day after tomorrow, the dock connector, because that is what's causing it not to charge. So I've got that coming as well. So let's go ahead and dive into the content, shall we? So here, let me pull out my lower third. I've been on both sides of directing live stuff. I've directed IMAG. In fact, for about 18 months, I was the only IMAG director at my church. So I sat in that seat for a long time. Every service, didn't miss a week, nothing like that. And we just kept it up. And I've also spent a lot of time running a camera. So I know a few things from both perspectives. And that's basically what I want to share with you today. First thing, this is today we're going to be talking about doing it all from, well, basically things that a camera person wishes the director would keep in mind. So, the first thing is preface what you're saying with the camera it applies to. So, let me illustrate what I mean. If, as the director, I said, "Could you tilt up a little bit, camera 2?" That's not as good as camera 2, "Could you tilt up a little bit?" Same words, different order, because let's say I've got 4 cameras, with which at my church I do. If I said, "Could you tilt up a little bit, camera 2?" cameras 3, 1, or 4 might think, "Oh, he's talking to me." So if you preface what you're going to say with what camera it applies to, that really helps the camera people know, "Oh, he's talking to me." It's also possible that camera 2 could have been thinking, "Well, I've got a great shot, so surely he's not talking to me," and ignored it altogether until you hear camera 2. So that's something that's very, very important. Another thing, if you say something and the person doesn't respond to it, don't say it the exact same way again. It could be that it didn't make sense to them and they're trying to figure it out and they're reaching for their calm button to try and talk, but maybe it's during the message and they can't really talk quietly. So if someone doesn't respond, just change how you say it. Don't say the exact same thing again. Don't say it in a louder voice or with hostility in your voice. Say it using different words, synonyms, if you will. This is something that I've been leading my own kids in doing, because my youngest, if someone doesn't respond to her immediately, she'll say the exact same thing again and again and again. And I say, "Honey, why don't you say it a different way?" Because maybe they didn't understand, or maybe they had food in their mouth, or something like that. So that is good parenting advice as well as good advice in general. Next thing I think that I would say is give camera people time to focus. And I don't mean mentally focus, although that's important too. I mean, if you have someone who is particularly good at what they do, they're very likely to want to zoom in and focus, assuming you've got cameras that do all manual work and everything like that. They're likely to want to zoom in all the way and focus, because that's the best way to focus. You might even say the only real way to focus. So don't take their shot when they first push in real fast. Secondly, if they're in the middle of a move, make sure that you give them a heads up that they're next, and not a quick heads up, enough heads up where they have time to respond. So sometimes I'll be moving somewhere, and novice directors especially will see a shot in process to where I'm actually moving, and they'll say, "Okay, stand by 3, go 3." And I'll be, "But I was actually headed over to there." That's something we do a little bit different at my church. Is quite often since they're in a different room, especially for worship, not so much for performed songs, but especially for worship, and this was something that I started, is the director will let the camera people have more free reign. Now that means that the creativity in the shots can be greater because more people can create more creative stuff than a single person. So you can get more of that, but it's also has some room for possible errors. So you just want to be careful when you do that and give the people time to choose. Also, when you call that you're ready to take a shot, so when I say, for example, stand by camera 2, give them a beat. Don't, ready camera 2, cut to 2. Ready camera 3, cut to 3. Because that can be very jarring, especially if the person was thinking, oh, this is my perfect opportunity to focus. Or, oh, I really need to change this up. This has happened to me before when I've been on camera and I've gone to adjust a setting on my camera or gone to fix a cable if I'm on a roaming camera or something like that, and I inadvertently get a good shot while I'm doing this other thing. And when I hear them taking my camera shot, it gives me pause. I I have to kind of stop what I'm doing and remember the rule of thirds when you're directing. What do I mean by that? If you know that you're going to cross dissolve between two shots, it's tempting to put one shot on the right third and the other on the left third and cross dissolve between those. Well, put the subject on the right and left third. Well, pay attention to lead room and nose room when you do that. More than once I've had a director say, yeah, can you pan left? And I was all the way on the right of the shot because the person's nose was pointed directly to the left. So if I pan left, the edge of the screen with its magnetic pull visually makes it seem like the person is looking off on at the edge of the screen, and it just doesn't look good. So remember the rule of thirds and remember lead room, nose room, head room, all those little things as you're directing. There are probably camera people screaming at me right now. Oh, don't forget. And of course, I've forgotten anything else that I could think that I would want people to say. Oh, real quick, something that I've noticed is calling for a shot that's inherently unsteady and then telling the person to be steady. So if you have a handheld camera and the handheld camera needs to zoom in like crazy across the room, it's a handheld camera, so it's not on a tripod, it's going to be less steady than if it was on a tripod. That's just the way it is. So telling the person, be steady, they're already on that page. So that's really not all that helpful. So I guess those are just some of the things that I've learned as I am trying to get people to communicate better. I guess it all comes down to communication, really. Try and put yourself into the shoes of the other person. If you're a director and you can shoot from time to time. I know we got a video director at my church, and I'd been in the director's chair for 18 months of that time. And when we got this video director, he immediately put me out on a camera, and that was very valuable because in putting me out on a camera, I started to see things that I'd forgotten about. I was saying, oh, well, they can't get that shot because, And so I wasn't even calling for it. But then when I was on the camera, I realized, oh, I can get that shot. So it was either training or communication. So those are other things. If you're a camera person, pay pay attention to see if you can spend some time with the director and just interacting with, sharing what you know, sharing some of your challenges. Assume the best when you do this because they probably don't want everything to be screwed up. They probably want everything to go great. So you can give them the benefit of the doubt in that way. Okay, I hope that helps everyone. Next week, I'm going to be at my church's leadership retreat on Thursday. I'm planning on recording the next Technobabble in advance. In fact, I might do that right after lunch. It's about 11:23 Eastern here. So hopefully, I'm trying to figure out how to play it back live. So if I can do that, that's what I'll do. And if not, look for it on the YouTube feed, look for it on your podcast feed, look for it on trinitydigitalmedia.com. And until next time, I'm Paul Allen Clifford with trinitydigitalmedia.com. Go out and change eternity.